Sports. I'm James alongside Pat. Today we're going to be talking about a few topics regarding the 2020 to 21 off season. Let's start with our Around the Horn section where we talk about a few topics around the majors. Earlier in the week, the Royals signed free agent pitcher Mike Minor to a 2-year, $7.25 million deal. I, for one, expected Minor to sign with a contender. Pat, what are your thoughts on the deal?
I definitely thought, just like when he was traded to Oakland last deadline, that, he'd be going to a contender just like that to be mid to late rotation guy, obviously solid veteran arm, left-hander as well, so value. Certainly did not expect the Royals, but good for them. Everybody needs arms. Not sure how much he's going to help them get out of the gutter of the AL, but we'll see where it takes him.
Next deal that happened was the Mets signed relief pitcher Trevor May, obviously a great reliever, but to a very large 2-year, $15.5 million deal. I love the way the Mets are going with that. I think May strikes out a lot of guys, has a lot of control, has been pitching at a consistent near all-star level for a few years now. Pat, what are your thoughts on the very large deal?
Yeah, I think May's a great signing. I think 15.5 over 2 years might be overpaying him a little bit. But like a lot of Mets fans keep saying, Steve Cohen's got the money in his pockets. He's going to overspend if he has to get a player. And he's cornering the market on relief pitching early in the offseason, even if it is overpaying a bit. So I think it's a great move. I think May, at the core of it, is a great move. Money's probably a little too much, but I think it'll work out.
The next deal that happened was a little bit surprising. Jose Iglesias was traded to the Angels for 2 righty prospects. Iglesias obviously had a fantastic 2020 season when he was healthy, batting .373. Although he did say he picked up his option with the Orioles and said he wanted to stay with the Orioles. Are you at all surprised by this deal?
I was a little surprised. It seemed like the Angels were going to go through the free agency route to get their next shortstop. Obviously, it just seems like Andrelton Simmons is well out the door at this point. I love the move. Jose Iglesias, great season. Also somebody that they don't have to pay, so they can use that money on pitching, because we all know what the Angels need, and it is pitching.
Absolutely. And what they gave up wasn't too much. They gave up 2 solid righty prospects, like I said. So obviously, I think, especially because Iglesias is under $4 million for a salary next year, I think it's obviously a great move for the Angels. I think this means that we're going to see them pursue a guy like, I'm trying to think of reliable pitchers, James Paxton, Masahiro Tanaka, even Trevor Bauer maybe, or go the trade route. We talked about Sonny Gray in our last episode, or Blake Snell. Both are getting paid around $10 million. So not giving a lot of money to a shortstop, a free agent shortstop, I think helps them. We saw quite a few notable names get non-tendered.
For sure.
Read off some of the notable ones, especially notable ones. Maikel Franco of the Kansas City Royals, closer Archie Bradley of the Cincinnati Reds, Braves slugger who hit 16 home runs last year, Adam Duvall, Twins right fielder Eddie Rosario, Cubs outfielder Kyle Schwarber, Rockies outfielder David Dahl, and Yankees catcher Gary Sanchez. Pat, are you at all surprised by these? And do you think for maybe like one of them you can see a perfect fit?
Personally, I think a handful of these guys, being the notable names, will end up still re-signing. They just really didn't want them in arbitration anymore, which I think does make sense. Except for most likely Archie Bradley. I do think that Archie Bradley is going to be pretty highly valued by a lot of free agent teams for his past success. And because, as I said before, he's an arm, teams need arms.
Yeah, I agree. I think Gary Sanchez going as a free agent, teams who were a little bit skeptical about pursuing him now won't need to give up some bigger prospects. They can just go out and sign him because the upside's there. Obviously, he has not performed well since 2017. He hasn't played at the all-star level that he showed, but I think because the upside's there and he's still a solid hitter, especially for power, I think he'll definitely sign with the team pretty soon. I agree, Archie Bradley, very reliable reliever. good in tight situations. I think he's going to be a valued commodity to a lot of teams. Eddie Rosario's been around for a while. He can hit and has hit consistently. Kyle Schwarber's struggle at times to keep putting up like the level of play he should be, but has a lot of power.
You know what? You said perfect fit. Schwarber, obviously, I think at this point, now that he's a free agent, should be going to the AL at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we could see the NL having a DH from now on, but as of now, no for sure DH in the NL for next year at least. So I think he's an AL player for sure.
Yeah.
And that is the type of guy that you maybe see the Yankees go out and get because they're looking for that. They're looking for that left-handed bat. That's what they have been looking for. That's why Aaron Hicks has to bat third, a spot where he shouldn't be. Nothing against Aaron Hicks. Great defensively, switch hitter, has a lot of value and upside, but third in that lineup, not a chance.
Yeah.
So you'd much rather have Kyle Schwarber floating around your, not necessarily 3, but your 4, 5, 6 spot than Aaron Hicks with the power he can have, especially with that short porch in right field in New York.
Absolutely, and just imagine how scary and how powerful a Stanton, Judge, and Schwarber combo would be. So that's what we're going to talk about for the non-tendered guys. I was a little bit surprised about Adam Duvall, though, especially because of the success he had last year and his previous success with the Reds. Really regained some strength, and towards the end of the season was just mashing the ball. And they're just going to let him go. I'm sure they'll try and bring him back on a smaller contract because they want to be able to bring Ozuna back and still have some money to possibly make a trade for one of those premier third basemen in Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado. But I was still a little bit surprised by that. He's a guy who was a consistent lineup lock for you all year, and you just not throw him away, but non-tender him like that. And I think that was a little bit of a risky move by them. I don't really understand it that much, but I do see how this could be beneficial for them.
Yeah, I personally, I think he'll end up right back in Atlanta, especially if they aren't able to re-sign Ozuna. They'll definitely make a key point of bringing him back. I would be surprised if he's anywhere else, really. I think that's completely a money thing. They want him on a smaller deal than he might have got because of the arbitration panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one more thing that really happened this week was the MLB announced they will be having a draft league, which will start after the College Baseball World Series. It'll run a 68-game season. I did not see this one coming, but I really like the idea of it. Not all draft prospects will probably want to compete, but I think this will be a really good thing to pick out, like, who's the real deal. And it's kind of like a combine, except it's kind of like a NFL combine and NBA summer league mashed together in a way, because you get the longer season and you get to see how guys can hold up, but you also get to see and find kind of hidden values in players who you wouldn't get, because we think about guys who completely slipped past MLB teams' radars and have now become superstars. Jacob deGrom was a 9th round pick and is arguably the best pitcher in baseball right now. But with this, I think, because you look back at MLB, you look at the first overall pick. Now, if your team's bad to the point where you have the first overall pick, you're praying and praying that they can get that one guy who's going to turn around the franchise and make you great again. But it's about half the time that you actually get a productive player. A lot of the time, the first overall picks do not end up the way people want them to. But you can see, like, Chipper Jones was a great first overall pick, Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr. But then you look at the other side. I don't think anyone here has ever heard of Steve Chilcott. If you know who Luke Hochevar is, you're a pretty big baseball fan. Guys like Brady Aiken, who didn't even sign after being the number 1 pick. Mark Appel never made it to the majors. You look at those, and those are guys who should have been superstars, but just didn't pan out. So I think the draft league will be very beneficial to teams in that way.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit for teams with the draft league will 100% be the high school players.
Yeah.
You get to see them against some guys that might even be 4 years older than them. That's a pretty tough test for them. If they can stand through that at just 18 years old, they're going to be going a lot higher than they normally would.
Yeah. Because there have been some guys who didn't go as high as they maybe should have because they were in high school, and there's always that risk. And I think there weren't a lot of, not as many high school players selected in this 2020 draft, obviously, because it was a 5-round draft, not like the usual, I don't know how many rounds. There's a lot, like 30 or 50. And so there were only 5 rounds. So teams were saying, okay, do we want to really take the risk on that guy? He could be great, but he could also be wasting one of the few picks we have. And you
Will
never.
he sign?
What did you say?
This year, a lot of it was will he sign, will he not?
Yeah.
Because you have 5 picks. Well, a lot of teams had more than 5. But say you just have 5 picks.
Yeah.
Say you take 2 high schoolers, get unlucky, they're both committed to somewhere they really want to go, then you get 3 players. 3.
And that's not enough to turn a team around.
No, it is not.
Some counting issues over there, Pat?
Yeah, a little bit of a blunder over here.
Okay. So I think the draft league will be very helpful. I believe the guy who's going to be the commissioner of sorts is former scout Carrick Johnson, who's done a lot of great work in MLB. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
One thing that I really like about it is, maybe not that I necessarily love about it, but one thing that I think is awesome about it, this is going to give us a lot more surefire number 1 picks.
Yeah.
That's what. Although, at the same time, you see a guy struggle in college a little bit, goes to the draft league, lights it up. What are teams thinking here? Is he a first rounder? Is he like a 10th rounder? It'll be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, and I think one comparison, because there has never been like this for the MLB before, but we have seen the Summer League and the Combine. Even this year, if you're an NFL fan, you know who Henry Ruggs was. He was a great high pick. He should not have been the first receiver selected. And there was no way there was not a chance really he would have been the first receiver selected. But my man Henry Ruggs put on a show at the Combine. He was insane. And that really made teams go, oh my gosh, we need to get this guy. This guy is going to be the next Megatron. This is going to be the next superstar. But then you also look at guys who fell, like DK Metcalf or Aaron Rodgers, even after an impressive combine showing or a not impressive combine showing, who ended up still being superstars. So let's say we've got next year, let's say Kumar Rocker, star pitcher for Vanderbilt, but let's say he really struggles a little bit. Does that mean he's going to fall a lot? I think because of the experience he's had so far up until this point, I don't think he's going anywhere past the 10th pick. But this draft league could show a lot.
One thing that I really love that's going to help, say a player, he's in his junior year, and he's most likely going to be a first rounder. This is just a hypothetical situation. And then you get to like the 3rd or 4th game, the first series of the college baseball season, and boom, breaks something in his arm, breaks something in his leg, something like that. He's not going to be back until, let's say, May. So you don't have many college baseball games to play, but then you still have the draft league.
Yeah.
Up to the draft. That's a complete redemption chance, and an injury doesn't put you out of the draft completely.
Yeah. I think this is going to be really good. We don't have that much else to talk about. Thank you so much for listening in. We really hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to check out our Instagram page. We have now had 20 MLB players like post. That's this and this, including Pudge Rodriguez and Blake Snell in the last week. Great Instagram page. We post videos pretty often, once a week podcast. Sometimes we post other little videos. So make sure to give us a subscribe, a follow, a shout out, whatever you want to do. And thanks so much for watching.